So yes, it's our second call, I think, in English for English speakers or whatever the language you speak, but at least we can exchange in English. And so yes, the floor is yours. Questions, whatever about our MOOCs, our trainings, or any recommendation, suggestion, advice. Everything is welcome. That's your time.
Maybe a detail, I recorded the French webinars because there were lots of technical questions. They're a lot more popular than the English-speaking webinars. But I recorded the last English one, but there were the questions were mainly about registrations, about the course and so on. So I think there were questions you can ask us by email or so on. So yeah, there's no real need, I think, to upload them. If you think I should upload them, just tell me, but yeah, there were no real technical questions that were asked.
Sarah.
Hello. I was going through my notes because I had a few questions, but since I have been taking notes through the course, I'm not sure. I think most of my questions were about the international MPAs and mostly about how actually the process starts when there is more than one country involved. I think I was going through my notes. Sorry, I didn't know the webinar was
problem.
going.
Yeah, no problem. But whatever I think, and probably Madeleine would say the same. That's a very good question, huh? But this is far beyond my ability to respond, honestly. So if you have a question about that, because this is a really important topic, and this is really timely topic because it's one of the topic that is discussed at the COP27, even it's for climate. But anyway, these MPAs plus international MPAs, meaning out of national waters or and so on. So it's very specific, and it's really something I wouldn't be able to answer precisely to you. So I will not do that. But if you have question, if you find your notes and you have a precise question, we can definitely ask the teachers we had in the MOOC on marine protected areas. Some of them would be definitely knowledgeable about that and would be able to answer. But it's really about the international laws and regulations, which are most probably under construction for most of them, because it's something quite new. And so if I was telling you something, it would probably be wrong. And I don't want to say something wrong. So, but you can write us the question, definitely, no problem. And we will pass to the relevant people, and we will all learn. So it's not a problem at all. And we can even share the answer on Facebook after that.
Okay, thank you. It was more about how the process starts, if there was an example, but I'll definitely write about it. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess the only example we have really about that in the MOOC, I remember very well, is the Mediterranean IC process for these big protected areas that has been created in the Mediterranean Sea. And there is an example. Well, I remember that the guy presenting that says where it comes from. It doesn't mean that it's the complete story, but I think that there are a few elements. But otherwise, for the big ones, the big international MPAs, like the ones that have been created, for instance, by Barack Obama a few years ago, well, no, 10 years ago, and this kind of thing, I wouldn't be able to say it. Probably come from science. I hope it comes from science at the beginning. There's kind of science behind that, but maybe not. It may be only political, and it happens on land. I mean, I don't know for the ICs, but even on lands, when states commit to get what do you say that? Gazette, let's say 10% or 15% of their land, or 17%, like with Aichi, or 30% now, what will be discussed in December in Montreal. Some of them just decide to draw on a map something like a desert area or whatever, and that's exactly what happens. So the rationale behind that, it's just a commitment, a political commitment made at whatever COP or whatever meeting, and suddenly you have a new protected areas. We have no history, no I would say no scientific base. I'm a bit harsh, but that's what happens. Huh? So I guess some of the MPAs, and mostly the biggest one, and you can understand that because it's very easy to say, okay, you know what, very far from the coast where nobody goes, we will create an MPA. And it's a big one, and after all, nobody is going to take care of that. Nobody is going to survey. So that's very simple. And I suspect that some of them have been just created like that at a big meeting where people need to make commitment and high talks. But maybe I'm wrong. I hope I am. So yes, please ask your question by writing and we can have a few stories.
I found another one. Maybe this is maybe this is an obvious one. It's about the IUCN categories of the MPAs. Are all MPAs supposed to have a IUCN category? I'm from Portugal, and I am thinking specifically about a very recent MPA that was created here on the bottom top way of creating MPAs. So the fishermen got together and they decided to create an MPA. The MPA became smaller and smaller and smaller, and then in the end, the actual MPA is just a very small square, and I'm not sure if it's going to be effective at all. But well, I guess it probably was a start. I never got to see anything about the category of that MPA. Is that mandatory? Should all the MPAs have an IUCN category?
Well, the category is not mandatory. It's just a recognition of a status for the protected area. If you have a protected area, which means that the territory or the sea we are talking about is a protected area, it has got a category for sure. If it's not a protected area, there won't be any category. You don't need to look at that. But if it's a protected area, meaning it's a place where we do conservation, yes, it's going to fall in one of the 6 categories. It's for nature conservation, strict. It's for tourism. It's for sustainable use of resources, whatever. But you will always find a main objective that corresponds to a category. So to respond to your question,
okay, but
yes,
the question
is
yes,
it
an official category? Is it something that has to be talked to with the IUCN, or it's just recognize that it falls under a category?
Absolutely. No, the categories are a tool that people use for themselves, but it's not IUCN that will give you a category. So you can live without a category. You can even live without being recognized as a protected areas and doing a very good job. I mean, lots of protected areas around the world are not officially recognized, in particular local and community-based protected areas, but they are still protected areas, and they are still, some of them at least, doing a very good job. And at the very end of the process, you put a category on your protected areas. What is it for? It will help you to explain to other people what your protected area is about. I mean, if you're fishing in your protected areas, it's not the same as if you are protecting strictly your ecosystem. So if you want to talk to people who are doing the same, like fishing with communities, you're not going to call someone who is managing protected areas where they have banned completely all activities, because you have nothing to it. So the categories are mostly a tool to describe what is your type of protected areas? And it's 6 categories. It could be 10, it could be 20, it could be 3. That's just a matter of how you organize things. And for now, we are working with those 6, but it's nothing mandatory, just a tool at your service to help you communicate, understand others, and so on. The same for governance. The 4 types of governance, private, community-based, whatever. It's just a way to describe yourself. But of course, it doesn't cover everything. But it helps people to say, okay, I am a private governance, protected areas, with sustainable use of resources, category 6. So I am a private category 6 protected area. So it's different than if I was a state-based category 2 protected area. That's just a tool for that. Okay.
And just to go even further, sometimes the category that the protected areas say they are is completely wrong. So it's really, you really have to look, so I'm adding people at the same time. So you really have to look at the management plan, at the objectives, to make sure it is, if you look on protected planet, a lot of, say, a national, they're a national park, so they will say, well, that's a category 2. But if you look at the management plan and objectives, it's completely false. So it's the only role IUCN plays in a protected area, very roughly, is the definition. They don't need to recognize or anything. It's, you look at the definition. Here's a question from Niwakora. Is there any criteria for a local MPA to be recognized internationally under IUCN?
No. IUCN is just an NGO. It's just a big NGO. Yes, it's a hat for many members, but as IUCN has a normative role for a few topics, like the definition of protected areas, which we all know by heart, and coming with that, the categories. But once again, it's built by the members, meaning all of us. I mean, all the people who are working in protected areas are in a way or another members of IUCN through their organization or whatever, or their state. But so that's it. And the second normative role, which is very important for IUCN, is the red list, of course, red list of endangered species. That's the main role that is for what IUCN is known. But in terms of criteria for MPA to be recognized internationally, it comes from the international recognition itself. It could be a Ramsar site, it could be whatever, a World Heritage, but the criteria are defined by the organization. If your MPA becomes a World Heritage site, it will have to respond to one of the 4 natural criteria of the World Heritage Convention for Natural Heritage. And it's not IUCN deciding that. So each convention, each international recognition comes with its own criteria and with its own rules and so on. IUCN can play a role. That's the case of the World Heritage Convention, where IUCN is the advisory body officially, but it's not IUCN defining the criteria to be recognized, of course.
Remember, a protected area can be recognized as such, even if it's just a few, like in the case in Portugal, a few fishermen deciding and recognizing that this area is a protected area. So IUCN may not even be aware of it. It's, again, really the definition against, does this area match this definition? Yes or no? Then it is a protected area. Do these few people recognize it as such? Then it is a protected area.
Can I ask something else?
Of course.
I didn't want to be monopolizing.
Go ahead. Your questions are meaningful for everyone.
It's about the evaluation of the management effectiveness. Those methodologies that we hear about in the course, are they official? I mean, is there someone some organism who gathers all that information and supervises the way things are applied and the results, or is it just something that the management the managers can choose on and apply, and if they don't like, they can move on to another methodology later on. The question is it something official that we can look into, we as users can look into and see if that MPA is being well managed and see about the results in some website or something, or such a thing does not exist?
Well, the response is yes and no. So yes, there is kind of formal and almost official, but official is a bit too much, but formal organization around these tools, and it's explained in the course. They all come from the WCPA work, the past 20 years, on management effectiveness, and the framework in 6 steps. Where am I? Where do I want to go? What do I need? And so on, the framework. So that's the base for all the tools we use. Tools have been developed, and it's also explained in the course, for assessing a site, assessing a network of sites, assessing in depth or very quickly, and so on. So there are many tools. A few years ago, there were 60, 70 tools. Now I just assume there are hundreds of them, because countries develop, projects develop, donors develop tools. But at the end of the day, the philosophy behind the tool and the organization of the tool, the structure of the tool, those steps, has to be the same, so that you can understand what is the rationale of the assessment and how it works. So yes, there is kind of authority behind that, which would be the World Commission on Protected Areas, and there is a working group on that, dedicated on management effectiveness. You can find the contact on the WCPA pages and so on. So those people are working on that. And at the end of the process, it leads to the green list of protected areas. The best managed and governed protected areas should be at the end on the green list of protected areas. And if you manage to get there on the green list, it means you've been through the assessment, through whatever the tool you choose. It's not really important, but the same process with those 6 steps. But to respond fully to your question, yes, as a manager, as someone managing or working with a protected area, you can choose the tool that is going to respond better to your needs, because of the language, because some are not in all languages, are not available in the language you could use, because of the way it's done, you understand it better, or it's too complicated for you. If you use the EOH, I'm seeing our heritage tool, which has been developed for World Heritage Site, it's just going to be too much complicated for your site at the beginning if you just want to assess quickly your. So, but maybe later you will use this tool because you find it more useful for you. That's really depends on your needs, your capacities, the time you have, the money, and so on. So I would say, yes, there is a structure, but for the tools themselves, there are many of them. Most of them, I don't know them. So we just present a few of them, but I mean, they have been developed in China, developed in the States, developed in Chile, wherever, and people use them for the same purpose. The only thing you need to check when you choose a tool to assess the management effectiveness of your protected area is to make sure that it's going to cover all the parts you want. Sometimes you just want to assess the functioning of your protected areas. Do people do the job as it was planned? You have a management plan and you want to check if people went there on time, did the job, give you the report, spend the money correctly. That's part of management effectiveness. But of course, it doesn't give you the real information you should be looking for, which is the impact. Have we done something that is useful? Because you can do everything you have planned to do and still being useless, because other things have changed in between, because climate change, because of political decision, because of what. So most of the tools will answer about technical question and will let you know about yes, I've done what I was supposed to do, so I'm very happy. My life is beautiful and I can go on holidays. But if you ask yourself, have I been useful? Did I change something in terms of conservation? That's when it becomes much more complicated. And very few tools are able to cover this part. And it is complicated to cover this part. So there is no easy tool that will respond to your question, am I useful? Am I doing proper conservation? Am I changing the world? This part is always complicated, whatever you choose. But there are some tools that includes governance, that includes a lot of things that can help you to respond to that. But it becomes, yes, quite complicated. So basically, all the tools, well, not all, but I don't know all of them, but I mean, most of the tools are well done and most probably very useful, but that depends on where you want to go, what you want to achieve with them. And that's where you need to, yes, read, ask to the WCP experts. This is my need. What tool should I use? That's all.
Perfect. Thank you.
We have a couple of questions in the chat. One of them by Danny. What are the benefits that the courses bring?
Well, maybe Madeleine, you can answer to that because you are in touch with all our students every day.
I can copy paste my answer. Well, these are free courses that are, well, that we develop, but that are the teachers that are speaking in the courses of some of the world references on the topics. So these are resources that you have access to for free. They, some institution recognize the attestation that you receive at the end. People complain about the exams that are too difficult sometimes, but that's what brings some of the prestige to the courses. That's why some people have, some institutions value them, employers value them because they know they're not easy to get. And yeah, if you want to learn more about conservation, about protected areas, this is, I think it's safe to say it has become one of the references in at least online conservation courses, at least in French-speaking Africa, at least. So yeah, if you have any more specific questions about the benefits, you can ask them, but overall, this is it.
Yeah. But also I would say, because behind benefits, most of the time it's about job opportunities or this kind of thing. And we have quite a few examples now of people who have been able to find a job thanks to the courses, thanks to one course or the certificate for the one who passed the certificate. So or to find a new training, to find to be able to join a university and so on. So we if you read the NAPA, you can see a lot of examples. It's in fact quite amazing, the number of people who have been able to use the MOOCs and the attestation or certificate to go a step further than the other people, because people involved in conservation, there are many, but people involved in conservation plus having this kind of trainings, there are less, and at the end of the day, that's it. That's when you're chosen, it's just because you're particular in a group of many people. So these kind of benefits are also linked to the course. I would say the group we have, we've got amazing groups now on Facebook or whatever the media we have, a real and powerful network of people. It means that we get some benefit. I mean, Madeleine and I, because we get a lot of information from the ground, and that's completely amazing. And we share a lot of information. And just moving to Sylvia's question, thank you for the question about internship. Well, we do publish as far as we can when we receive internship opportunities. We do publish that on NAPA, on the newsletter, on the Facebook groups, on our Facebook page. Of course, we can't respond to 9,000 people. It's not 9,000 people looking for an internship, but there are several hundred people looking for internship, believe it or not. We are working on it, meaning in 2023, next year, we will develop a program of internships. We are busy working on that. We will have some agreement with a few universities or protected areas, internship on the ground. So next year, I hope to be able to respond more precisely and more optimistically to your question. And the second part of the question, which is about Italy, no, we don't have any ambassador in Italy. Honestly, we don't have any ambassador, but Madeleine is really in charge of the ambassador network, but we don't have any ambassador in a European country. But why not? I mean, this is nothing, there is nothing that prevents us to do so. We focus on Africa because definitely PAPACO is about Africa, but it doesn't mean we should not be working with other countries. Definitely we do work with other countries, and why not? I mean, I don't know, Madeleine, what you think of that.
Yeah, we did. We have an ambassador in Peru that covers the whole of Latin America, just because we saw a lot of students there. But yeah, at first, as Geoffroy said, we wanted to stick to Africa, but the reality is the courses are online. They're all over the world. We have students in practically every single country in the world, almost. So yeah, we could definitely, the role of these ambassadors are to help learners from their country. I don't think that would be very relevant in Europe, because people are a lot more computer literate. They know how to use. You'd be surprised how many people don't know how to create accounts. So this is where ambassadors, say in Cameroon, in Congo, and so on, are very helpful. They help to filter out a lot of those questions and to help students. But the whole ambassador thing has evolved a lot recently, and it has really become these hubs, these local hubs of students sharing information, sharing job opportunities, sharing internship opportunities. And it's very up to the ambassador to animate that network, to make it come alive, to create it and to make it come alive, and then for the people who are part of this network to ask their questions, to share the opportunities. It's useless if it's just the ambassador creating a group and nobody participates. It's like these webinars. If nobody asks questions, there's no use for them. So if you're keen on becoming an ambassador in Italy, let me know. Just email me. I'll post my email address, or it's the usual moocs@papaco.org email address. Just email. And we can see just even maybe a European, what do you think, Geoffroy, European ambassador group or network or something? We can see. We can definitely talk about it.
And just to complete what Madeleine said, yes, definitely in some European countries, we can imagine people would need less support from the ambassador because they are computer literate, most of them. But first, it's not true for everyone. And we've got that even in France, where we work with a network of what is called the Digital Academy. So there are academies, it's not really academy. I mean, it's a IT internet cafe, let's say, in some small cities of France, where people can go and get connected, use a laptop, and there is a tutor there to help them. And some of our MOOCs are used in those places for people who want to learn about environment. And it's in France. I mean, it's in the middle of Europe. And some people, because they don't have connection at all, at home or at all, because they don't know really how to use it, because they are not fluent in all that, maybe the language or whatever. So they go to these digital academies and they get support. So there are definitely people in Italy, in Portugal, in France, in Europe, in Germany, most probably, who need some help, definitely. And we would be happy to get some help. That's one thing. And the second thing is just about spreading information, because definitely, I don't know how you got the information about the MOOCs, Sylvia, but it's clear that we don't reach many people in Europe because we don't advert, we don't push there. It's not our kind of market. So it's difficult to know how people in Portugal, like Sarah, you got the information, and probably we could get more people from this part of the world if the information was more spread by people. I don't know. Sarah, how did you hear about our MOOCs?
I am not sure. I think I found it through an email of some other organization. I think I don't really recall.
Okay, at least you, but that's it. I mean, it's difficult for us to know how people get the information. What we know for sure, and I'm talking for Africa, where we work, is that a lot of people don't get the information. So after 5 years, and almost, really almost, I mean, we are missing a few hundred of people, and we will be at 100,000 people who have joined the MOOCs, done the MOOCs. So it's a lot, 100,000. In 1 month, in 2 months, we will be at that level. But even after that, when we go on the ground, when we visit, you've got a very nice cat, Rosie. So when we visit the, it's coming back. So when we visit the the parks on the ground, we still find a lot of people who have never heard of the trainings, including in parks in Africa, where some people have been trained, but the information has not been shared. And we still have a lot of people who have never been, and they just discover and say, oh, well, I want to be able to join and so on, because that's why it's there. I mean, to help people. There are other tools, other courses. It's not a big deal, but I mean, at least we would like to be sure that people are aware of the existence of these courses. But still, we're missing the point on many ways. So yes, why not Italy and other countries in Europe or wherever the planet? We've got people in Bhutan, we've got people in China, of course, we've got people in, even I think in the Antarctic thing. I mean, it's unbelievable when you look at the map of people doing that.
Anthony, I think we answered your question. Geoffroy answered about the practical opportunities, volunteer internship opportunities that we will talk about more in 2023 when things materialize. Here's
but
yeah.
But it's also internships and job opportunities, all that. It's also in your hands. I mean, because we are just Madeleine and I, and yes, we've got access to a lot of information and we share a lot of information as far as we can. But at the end of the day, we only receive the information that is shared with us. So it's why it's very important, the Facebook page, the groups, that people share information, go there and take control of those tools, because we can't be the one sharing internship, sharing jobs every day. It's impossible. You're just too many, and there are too many things happening over the planet. So it's really, and that's why our network of ambassadors is so important. I must say they do a great, wonderful job wherever they are. And they get us a lot of information. They share a lot of information. They do amazing things. If you read the NAPA regularly, you can see that. And that's something we can't do. I can't be tomorrow in Zambia doing information session, and then the day after in Namibia, and then in Gabon, and then in Dakar. It's just impossible. So we rely on our students, in fact, and that's good, because it means you have some space. Maybe you don't feel it, but in fact you have, and the students are able to have a lot of inputs in what we do or not. The ambassador thing, all that has come from the student themselves. and it's you would be surprised, but even the Facebook page at the beginning was created by students. So at the first session, so we had to take over, but I mean, all that comes from the ground now. Okay.
Kadia too from Sierra Leone is worried he could not attend any of the online classes, but there's no worry. We receive that a lot. The courses are absolutely self-paced, so there's no delay. You're not late for anything. You can start now and start the course there. Yeah, there's nothing to catch up on. The only deadline we have is to have enrolled by the 27th of November and to finish exams by the 12th, I think, 11th or 12th of December. So really no. And this is not the last session. I see you asked to reconduct other trainings. The next session will be in January.
So yes, so for people who would be late for this session, you can start again. The only thing that changed, and it's an important thing, is the exams are different. So if you don't finish the course now and you want the attestation, if you start again in January, you will have to restart all the exams. So it's better to finish now if you can. Otherwise, you will start the course again and pass all the exams. You can't keep your notes for the next because it's not the same exam. So basically, it's better to finish. Otherwise, nothing urgent. And also for those who have managed to pass all the MOOCs and get 7 MOOCs at least in their basket, the next certificate is on the 15th of December. So it's still time to...
That's only for French speakers at the moment.
Yes, you're right. I've always forgot that. Sorry. Yeah, because the exam is only in French for now. Sorry. But we are working on it. So in 2023, it should be open to other languages and it will be in English. Sorry for that. We can't be dealing with all the languages on earth, but why not, by the way? We would, well, we can't. We just can't.
But hopefully in 2023. Sylvia asked, do you collaborate with youth associations to raise awareness of marine protected areas? We do not work directly with them, but I don't know if you followed the news on youthconservation.org. So that's our newest platform, our newest endeavor. I'll share the link here. It's also only in French at the moment. Again, hopefully we will have it translated next year. Hopefully, we'll see. The goal is to raise awareness among the youth. So for young people ages 10 to 17 years old, to have them just access this platform, which is very mobile friendly, and there's 6 modules at the moment which they can follow along alone or in classes, do these little quizzes, watch the short videos. It's very playful in a way. So yeah, that is, we are launching that slowly at the moment and trying to get teachers to know the tools so they can share it with their schools, to have local organizations like MPAs get to know it so they can just share it during their educational sessions and so on.
Yeah. So this is really something important that we have started in let's say October. So it's brand new and we have this new platform. It's really youth. It's not the young people in protected areas. It's really the youth people, meaning kids. But it's very important to work on kids. So lots of organization, lots of programs target kids. Not a problem. We're just trying to add our small stone in the building. But yes, so we've launched this platform. It starts to work. It's only in French for now because it was a lot of work to develop that, but it's quite easy to translate. It could be in Italian, could be in Portuguese, definitely. It will be most probably in English next year, early 2023. But yes, our target are kids, and it's really important. In Europe, it can seem a little bit already covered because there are a lot of programs for kids, TV, whatever, social medias. But in Africa, to be honest, we are still far behind. And that's why we did this platform, and it will evolve and will change in the future. But still, we've done that, and it's a start. So 2023, we will be working a lot on that.
We want to reach the kids so they can get the good habits before it's too late, and they already set in their ways, and they're want effective citizens for the future. Rosie asked, I'm trying to understand the amount of influence the UN has to affect real change. For example, Portugal hosted the UN Ocean Conference in June, and there was a lot of emphasis put on the goal to achieve 20% of the ocean by 2020. Do you see any concrete action towards that as a result of the conference? This is Rafa's favorite topic.
Sorry, I would prefer not to respond to that, but and it can't be a IUCN answer because I don't know the IUCN position on that. Personally, I'm like, I think everyone. I see, I watch, I hear the conferences after conferences, the 27th conference on the climate, the 15th conference on biodiversity next month. This month, we've got the, I don't know the number, Ramsar COP, CITES COP, next month, the CBD COP, today, the climate COP. So we've got more conferences definitely than impacts. That would be my response. So I'm pretty sure there is something good coming out of these conferences, and maybe the 20% you mentioned will happen. By the way, it should be 30% if we talk of biodiversity. Yeah? Sorry, okay, no problem. But will it happen? Most certainly not because of the conferences, but because of people. It's a matter of citizens. All what we're talking about, climate change, biodiversity conservation, all that, at the end of the day, is a matter of individuals. If everybody was doing good, we would, all of us, do good. I mean, I'm sorry, it's easy response, of course. It's not going to happen tomorrow, but still, whatever they say, they talk about in a conference, if it does not reach the people, and if people don't apply for themselves what has been discussed, nothing will change. And that's very true for biodiversity conservation. I mean, it's plastic pollution. If you don't decide that you are not going to use plastic, no one is going to decide that for you. It can be banned from your country and so on and so on. But I mean, it's a real personal behavior that we need to reach. And that's exactly why, coming back to the discussion, why we have decided to work on children, because the next generation needs to be built right now. And it's probably even too late for some of the kids, but you see what I mean. So yeah, I don't have any real response about those conferences. I'm like most of the people, expecting the best and waiting for the best. And who knows?
Do you think
And
achieving
I don't know.
30% is enough?
No, you know, the scientists, you know, 30% of the 30%, the discussion in next month is not about protected 30%, is about 30% where we kind of do better. In those 30%, there will be protected areas, but all the other thing right now, conservation measures, which are supposed to be these OECM, which are supposed to help conservation. But even if you have 30% of protected areas plus OECM, meaning kind of conservation somewhere, it means that you are left with 70% where kind of you could be able to do whatever you want. And of course, it doesn't work. I mean, if we want to save biodiversity and probably climate, we need to work everywhere on conservation. If you leave 70% of the planet without something happening, I mean, we miss the point for sure. And lots of scientists have said, not me, I'm not a scientist, but lots of scientists have said that it should be 50% of the planet at least to save the main biodiversity. And even 50%, it leaves 50% where we could do whatever we want. But of course, it's not going to happen. We're not men, humankind is everywhere. So we are not going to free 50% of the planet for nature. It's not going to happen. And we are not going to free 30% of the planet for nature. It's not going to happen. What is going to happen is we hope that on this 30%, we will get better and better. So we can then target 40% where something good happens. It's not going to be nature for itself. It's going to be less pollution, less use of pesticide, whatever. I mean, that's what we're talking about for the 30%. It's not save the gorillas and save the pandas and save the elephants. It's really how we diminish our impact on 30% of the planet. It's not asking too much, in fact, but it's going to be very difficult. So no, it's not enough, but it's like the 1.5 degrees for the climate. We know it's not enough, but getting there, it's already such an effort that we are targeting that. And we know that we have already failed on this target. So, but I don't want to be depressing anyone here. I mean, it's difficult, but you just have to look further than that. I mean, don't be depressed because Earth is there, it turns on itself, and it will continue to turn in 1 million years. And all our discussion will be forgotten by them, and something else will be there. So it's not as bad as it seems. It's just that today it's bad because we've built this world that is our world, but we will manage to get somewhere. And so I don't know if percentage is enough to define what we want, but it's a tool. It's like the categories, it's like management effectiveness tools, it's a tool. So we have targets and we try to get to these targets. But really my feeling, and it's just my own opinion, it doesn't mean it's true. It has to be everybody, every single person, every kid, every elderly, everyone, every president would change. Otherwise, it's impossible. We can't make the change we need. But it can happen. Okay, I would say that we can stop this meeting because I definitely have another one in 7 minutes. But it was good to have you on board. Once again, don't hesitate to send questions in writing on the forums of the MOOC, on the groups. That's the best place. And we won't have another chat in English for this session, but we will start again in January, and we will do that again. So I hope to see you then, and wish you the best for the end of the session and your exams if you're passing the exams. Okay, Madeleine?
Yep. Thanks everyone for being here.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
See you soon.
Bye.
Cheers.